Hey, Milan, you sees the world. Hey, how's it going? It's welcome back to the pod. We're just maybe a bit later than we originally wanted to do it, but we're here nonetheless. It's your host Shane coming at you from Nairobi, Kenya, and the other host being the awesome Hosni. Now coming at you from his home place in.
Malaysia.
There we go. So awesome. So yeah, guys, quite a lot of good stuff to cover. Obviously, the way that the games have gone since we last spoke, they've been kind of overall positive. There's been a formation change. Yeah, there hasn't really been any manager change that we were talking about in the last podcast, but still quite a lot to cover. So yeah, welcome. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's good to be back with you guys and plenty to cover, as you mentioned, Shane. And yeah, just the two wins, something a lot more positive actually compared to the previous stream where we were all doom and gloom and wanting purely out. So I guess for the next few days, if not, see how it goes. Purely still has his job. But let's go over the first game that we have here today. And for you guys, I hope that you guys watched this. This is back in the league. Happened last week against Torino. This is an opponent that we have actually lost back to back. We lost to them the first leg last year, and we lost to them when they only had 10 men in the Copa. So that was absolutely a dismal performance, but we came back with a win. So, Shane, what were your thoughts on the games? I assume you watched it.
Oh man, I watched it. So my thoughts on it were, I'm really impressed at how teams are finding it hard to actually get a shot on us now, right? So like when I say a shot, I mean like a meaningful shot, not something that's from outside the box, right? Like we've seen it in the Torino game, especially. It's like they found it very hard to get in. Defensively, we're very compact, and we do have an awful lot of quality still going forward to actually get a goal. We've kind of shown this now in the last two games, which has been really positive. Formation change, as you said, Hosni, was really needed. Um, I think the formation that we had with was it 4-2-3-1 that we were using. I think it took an
Yeah.
awful lot out of the players. And this kind of 3-4-3 just kind of seems to get us back to doing the basics properly, which is defend, defend, defend. If it is a bit regressive, I don't care at this point, as long as we're getting results from it, which we seem to be doing. Um, yeah, and it just seems to fit our players so well, man. Compared to like even look at Salamakers, which we'll discuss a bit later, but look at him in the Spurs game, especially. He played very well because the position he's playing is more aligned to the position that he was actually, that he started his career in, right? So I mean, it's like this formation just really works for this team. What are your thoughts on the formation change more so than this game?
Yeah, I've been quite a proponent of or a supporter of having the 3-4-3. But this started from last season and even before we won Scudetto, not because of what happened recently and disappointing defensive errors that we've been making, but actually stemmed from the left hand side. And this is something that I saw with Theo last season, is that he didn't seem defensively he wasn't that great. And Theo's had good games as a defender before, but he's mainly the guy who's putting the assists and scoring the goals, as we saw. So I was a big fan of 3-4-3, and I'm glad that Pioli saw the fact that other than trying to change out players, maybe it's time to change the formation. But this was a game, and Shane, I think you agree with me, is that we've had some key people that we've blamed for our past losses out of the game. So Tomori didn't feature. Calabria didn't feature. Macias from the bench. Other than that, sorry, and Benacer being out. We've had Krunic and Tonali as a partnership. So, what do you think? I mean, is it just because of the formation, or do you think there's also other tactics that Pioli is working on? On the training ground that complements the fact that there is a change, but also a change in mindset. Because it just can't be that one or two different players and
Yeah,
have a four-man
n-
midfield.
it's I think it's just that everything makes so much sense. The formation is only a part of it, right? Well, what
Yeah.
that formation allows is it allows kind of, more. It allows for, far more cover on the defensive side, which I think is what we needed. I think where we were kind of lacking as well is when you have Theo going on these huge runs, because there's more space, right, which there always used to be in the 4-2-3-1. There was it 4-2. Yeah. Okay. In the other formations that we used, right? Um, there was a lot of space on the left hand side, which is great. But the thing is then Theo has a lot of ground to actually cover and go on these runs, right? But with this formation, because everything is compact and it's tight, the ball is kind of distributed more evenly around the pitch, and it doesn't Theo doesn't need to go on these, as many of these, marauding runs as he needs to do. So it gives him space. He's still playing great 1-2s with Leao, which is great to see. So it works on so many levels, but it is not just the formation, but it's how it's being applied, and so we are now more counter-attacking, which arguably you could say it's probably regressive in terms of the way we used to play, which was on the front foot. But at this point, I think with the players that we have, this just makes sense, but there has been a mindset, I think, in terms of how we're playing, like just what I spoke about. So I think the overall mindset has changed, which is now we seem to be far more comfortable actually keeping the ball in our half, right? And then going on an attack when we see the opportunity. And that's very good in two ways, because one, you don't get as tired because you're actually being selective with the time that you're spending out there, right, on the pitch. But the second thing is, you can really see it. I mean, like, again, and we'll talk about this a bit later during the Tottenham recap, but certain players that we have, I mean, they're really suited to this. I mean, look at the likes of Chiao, look at the likes of Salamakers, right? This seems to be really at home in this formation, and it's keeping players that I think are very average uh, out of this team, which is great. And I'll talk about that later. But so I think it's a combination of things for me, but it's just I think this formation really works, and I think we've discovered some defensive solidity. What's the most important thing about this change, though? This overall mindset change, do you think?
Yeah, it's about the balance, and I think one of the reasons why we conceded quite a lot is because we felt really off balance. So we had attacks coming down from the right, and that puts us in a tilt because then opponents know that they have a lot of space on our right hand side and they're just crossing into the box. And we've conceded so many times from silly headers, from confusion in the box, because it was that easy just for the opposing teams to whip it into the box. But now that we got the three-man back line, and I just want to spend a little bit of time to talk about that, is that because there are three defenders at the back, it doesn't mean that all they do is stay at the back. So what we've seen of Kalulu, he's able even to alternate with Samakis, for example, and be that, you could say, that right back, even though he's a three-man defensive line. Same thing with Chow, and what I saw, he was running down the left. By the way, he's a tall kid, he isn't that fast, but he was running down the left. So having that, you could say, that creative freedom, really makes a difference. And when you and you could say that I'm making an assumption here. If team members, when they see when they see other members of the team with that confidence, it also inspires them to know that, okay, one of my guys knows what he's doing. He's making the runs. Now it's my turn to make the runs. So that having that, and you purely like to say a lot, that no point of reference really helps. Everyone becomes more dangerous. We seem to be a lot more confident, and what I like is that our build up is not too slow. So with the 4-2-3-1, we will, because Theo and Calabria at that time, they were at the back quite a bit. I think there was a lot of time where they needed to figure out whether what's going to happen here. Is it going to be that Theo needs to charge in front, or does he have to move it over to the other side and let Calabria do something? No, we have a four-man midfield now. There's a lot more freedom, I feel, and this is why the team is performing better. That's my opinion. But I just want to draw your attention, to all the listeners, to all the stats, and we got it up here. We had 4 shots on target, more than our opponent. That is good. As a change of fortunes compared to our previous games, have being that much more aggressive, being, you could say, no, not clinical. You could say maybe, because we kept a clean sheet and scored. Being that much more aggressive, it's a good start. And I know that none of us like to get the penalties and celebrate penalties too often, but this is how it starts. Yeah, you become more, that much more aggressive. Opponents become more fearful, and you can force that mistake. Once you force that mistake, a lot of things can happen. You can get fouled, you can get a free kick, you can be, it leads to so much more things offensively. So yeah, I'm absolutely
And
pleased.
the
And
confidence as well that they're going to get from this, right? I
yeah,
mean, the confidence alone is just it's amazing. I mean, think about it. We're now in a situation where we've won our first game back in the Champions League for in the knockout round for first game that we've been in. We've for years we've won it. I mean,
yeah.
this is great. It's such a turnaround. I mean, it's amazing.
There's one question I wanted to ask you, Shane, and I know you're not prepared for this question. Tata Rushanu, what do you think of his performance since Tomori has not been in defense?
I think so. Yeah, good question. So sorry, excuse my background noise.
No problem.
If you can hear it. So the thing is, in the last couple of
Sorry, guys. There was just I'll let Shane.
sorry guys, this is what happens
No
when
problem.
people are off school for midterm. Sorry, man. No, so back to Tatarusanu. I think he's improved visibly in the last two games because I think he has a bit more reassurance. But the thing is it still doesn't really make a difference at this point because I mean, he's what age is he? Like, it's like thanks. It's great to see you're showing these qualities now. Probably the year that you're about to retire. Thank you. But yeah, it's too little, too late. I mean, you heard today, right, that they're apparently Sport Yellow is a done deal from
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Well,
So
I don't know what to make
yeah,
of the
that's
deal,
something to
and
look forward.
we just speak about it a little bit. Is that yes, Portiello is coming. He's designated as number two. Why did we get Vasquez? What is the plan for him? Are we just trying to use up all these non-EU spots because we don't have any idea? I mean, there still are some questions there. But yeah, I mean, if he's good, I welcome him to the team. But if we're taking or making a gamble, I don't think we need any more of those. Right. So I just want to recap the last game that we all watched, and as you mentioned, Shane, knockout win in the Champions League. I mean, when was the last time we saw that? All fans were so happy, and the fact that we managed to again keep a clean sheet. This is also a good improvement, and everyone's been, not say everyone, but Juventini praised Allegri for doing this. Winning by that odd goal, keeping that clean sheet, and it makes a difference. Yeah, it makes a difference. Yeah, so you got defenders happy, you got attackers somewhat happy, everyone's happy. Yeah, so it's not a 5-4 scrap, for example. So this game, Shane, and how do you think the team perform? And are we starting to see, just because it's 2 wins back to back, and you could say against very tough opponents, is this the start of us turning the corner and really making a good run for the second half of the season?
Uh, so I'm in two minds about this game. I think so. Like we fell a really long way in the past couple of months, right? Like so for me, I'm unsure on. First, I think it's very funny that Tottenham fans, so a team in the English Premier League, is complaining because of their injuries. Anyway, right. But yeah, so apparently Spurs have been hit with a couple of injuries to key midfield players. That really benefited us, really suited us. I think we played. The scoreline wasn't reflective on the game. I thought overall we were very, very, very good. We were far more clinical, which is something that we haven't seen Milan be in a long time. So that's been very positive. We could have won this 2 or 3-0. Um, Arguably,
We should have. Yeah,
Romero should have been sent off in the
yeah, you're
I
right.
think it was at 47th minute for that tackle on Tonali, right? So, I mean, you know, I'm still seeing quite a lot of Tottenham Hotspur fans on Twitter that are, disappointed with the refereeing performance. Um, and I think after that gift, I really don't think you can be disappointed. But so yeah, overall very good, and probably kind of similar to the Torino game. Clinical, did what we needed to do. We kept them outside the box for the most part. Um, you know, I mean, and we'll talk about Chow in a bit more detail in a bit, but I mean, this was an amazing performance from, you know, and Kier as well did a lot of work in putting Kane in his pocket. I mean, there's an unsung hero in Kier there. I mean, if he does kind of keep this up, then that's another player that this formation suits, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Overall, we did really well, very positive. But
On that
the only
point,
thing that I would say, though, yeah, sorry,
sorry, Shane. Yeah, sorry to because since you mentioned his name, Kier. Yes, we've seen how good he can be, but how good he can be isn't what personally what I saw in the Tottenham game or the Torino game. One of the things that really you could say pissed me off was during the Torino game. Do you remember that slip? I don't know if you remember that slip. There's a pass to him and he slipped,
that
and
wasn't good.
yeah,
Yeah,
that could have been equalizer right there. And this is why I get the fact that he's been out for a long injury. But if you ask me, there's three players at the back. Kier is the least stable out of all of them, and you could say maybe the most replaceable. If that's the proper term. If tomorrow is back, then maybe Kier, Kier might be sent to the bench. But you're right. In that game, he was close to Kane.
yeah.
I
It'd be
think that was
interesting
the
to see how
instruction.
Tomori works in this, though.
Yeah, you're right. And Tomori, his distribution is not bad.
Mm.
And of course, he has a lot more pace than Kier. But people play for their spots. If Kier is not doing well, be it Tomori, and if Tomori is still coming back from injury or it's not getting his fitness up to speed, we might see Gabia. We got options, and that's one thing that we also need to consider. We got options in that back line. But
Just a
out of
quick
the
question:
yeah,
what's your opinion on Gabia as a player?
Gabia, I will always remember him and respect him for that unbeaten run that we had. So it was him and Romagnoli holding the fort in the back line. I didn't see it any other way. So Gabia and Kalulu's destinies were intertwined because I remember the first game that proper game that Kalulu got was because Gabia came off with injury. I don't remember against which opponent, but I do remember the injury is on our left hand side. So I think there is still a player there. If he's happy, and this is the economics part. If he's happy just collecting his salary and being on the bench and not creating a problem, I don't mind him staying because we're gonna need that depth. And he's not. Everyone's gonna quote the Fiorentina game, but everyone has bad games, yeah. And he's not a disaster case as some people make it out to be. So yeah, Gabia, if you want to stay,
No,
please
he's
stay.
he's definitely not. No.
But my question to you, Shane, is that the Spurs game and the Torino game, out of those two games, are you seeing the improvement game, between those two games, or are they pretty much the same? What would your, overall view be of these two games in context?
So I think what's helped us a lot, despite I know the huge lack of activity um, that happened during the transfer window, but strangely enough, I think for this formation change, I think that's actually helped us because we have the same core group of players, that know each other very, very well. And then when you have that, it's easier to go to a different formation change, right? Um, I think so. Keep in mind, I know obviously, 2-1 nils with the same new formation, but keep in mind in terms of importance, I think the Spurs game especially shows an awful lot about the mental strength of the players that we have.
Yeah. And just to put that into context as well, it's
Um,
Champions League. Spurs are not a terrible side, and we went up against Conte. Everyone was worried about that Conte factor because Conte knows, based on his track record, he knows how to beat us. Yeah, so he knows how to beat Pioli, he knows how to beat the team, and he's done it before, quite recently.
I think there's a lot of weight being put on that though. So I mean, if you think about it, right, it's kind of like one of those stats where it's like 90% of stats are useless, right? I mean, because when you look at Conte, right, it's like, look, okay, so I mean, you know, he had who did he manage in Italy? So he had, let's say, Juventus, right?
Yeah,
They were winning all around him at that stage, and we were just awful because that was during the banter era. And then he had Inter, who yeah, we were a bit less poor, but we weren't as good as we are now. So there wasn't really anyone. It's not like because he's playing against Milan, he's going to win. It's just literally he was playing most of the time against a very poor squad. So of course he's going to win. He's going to get 3 points. But I think that Conte factor. I think it's junk. I mean, if you have Conte as a good manager, if he could stay at a club for more than 3 years, it'd be impressive. But he is a good manager. So, I just don't put much faith into that stat. But I think to go up against Spurs, a Premier League team, and you see, and to come out and to say that we should have won it 2 or 3-0. I mean, that's a great achievement. The only thing I will say is, if we had Chelsea now, we would batter them.
really. What makes you
And
say
I don't.
that?
It's a shame that if we would batter Chelsea. So the thing is you have a very broken club. You have an owner who doesn't know what he's doing, and instead of actually trying to stabilize the ship, what he's doing is just buying more players, right?
Something we
Um,
wish our ownership would do.
I Yeah, yeah. It'd be nice to actually have to actually buy players. I forgot what that's like, but no, man, I'm telling you, if we can do this to Spurs, right? There is not. I know Spurs did not play their best game, right? But they still have the likes of Song and Harry Kane, and we kept them quiet.
Yeah.
You know, if we had Chelsea now, we would, it wouldn't be 3 or 4-0. We wouldn't be losing. So yeah. Anyway, it's a shame we didn't, because I think that really let us down this season. I just think we didn't show up, and obviously Tomori getting that sending off didn't help us. But yeah, I think it just makes. You see, I don't like stuff like that because I don't like it when the Premier League looks good. You know, I'm
None
very
of us do.
biased, but anyway, yeah.
But on that note, and one of the players that I didn't pull up a picture, but we spoke about this just before the stream. There's one player that has featured quite a lot, and in the Spurs game, it was his header that won us the game. Brahim Diaz. Now that he won that game for us, it's the same level of talk that do you remember when Messias won us the Atletico game? Questions started to pop out of the woodwork. Yeah, yay or nay? What do we do with Brahim Diaz? He scored. You could argue that that goal has paid for his transfer. Should we, Shane? Should we?
No, no,
Okay.
because the thing is what you need is you need to be a great player. You need to be consistent, right?
Yeah.
And Brahim's his issue is that this is a great. He did really well. He scored a goal. He looked very dangerous. He was running into space. He was doing all the great things. But the problem is that as as a really great player, you don't choose when you don't decide. Oh, this is an important game, so I'll just show up. You do that for every game, and Diaz doesn't do that. So the thing is I'm hoping we don't, because I think it's a waste of money. If we get like an 18, 19-year-old kid from Brazil who has a lot of potential, that's more consistent, even though the
And taller.
performances won't be as good, and taller, and they eventually ramp up, that'll be great, right? Because it's whereas with Diaz, it's shocking inconsistency, and when he's very like Chalinoglu in the way that he just disappears, and he disappeared for multiple games. So go back to Real. Thank you very much, but it still doesn't make sense. What are your thoughts on it though?
Yeah, well, you're right about the consistency. So that's very important for us fans because we watch the game, but you know what? There's also someone else who watches the game all the time and training, and that is the coach. So the one thing that
It's not
Diaz
Cardinale.
has, yeah, definitely not him. The one thing that Diaz has over CDK is trust. This, I think, is something that's difficult to remove, and it factors into the decision whether we should buy or not. If Pioli goes to Maldini and says that, oh, Diaz is the sort of player that I need to have in my team, what's Maldini going to do? Of course, Maldini's going to put in the effort to like try and negotiate a deal, and then I don't know what the restrictions are, but maybe we'll end up. That's where we'll end up. But as a fan, you're right. I'm completely 100% with you. He is not the standard that we need if we want to go far, not only for Champions League but also for the league itself. Because we need match winners, yeah. Giroud is a proven match winner. That's why he'll always feature. He'll always be welcome. Leao, same thing. But then when you start to go to other players, you start to question the fact that if we're having a tough time, are these the guys to unlock it? And yes, in the Spurs game, it proved one thing, and everyone needs to keep this in mind. In Italy, we're playing differently. You really have to remember that. In Spurs, did you see it? Diaz found space. He knew what to do. That was his sort of game. But when you're up against a five-man backline and it's barely like a yard between Diaz and the next player, he's going to get crowded. He's going to get crowded. He's going to get pushed. He's going to topple over, dispossess everything. And that is a Diaz that we see all too often. So, yeah, in summary, you're right. I completely agree with you. If the decision needs to be made, let's get someone else. Plenty of other players. Diaz, thank you for the memories. I remember the Juventus goal. This goal, I guess, will go down the books as well. But yeah, time to go. Time to go back home. If they really want him to stay in, I don't know what they're going to do with him. Maybe play
Things
in the Copa.
because I can't see him playing for Real either. So if he goes back, I mean, I don't. If I was him, it would be in my best interest to stay.
Yeah, yeah. Similar argument with Liao because in in
So
Milan,
I don't know.
you play,
Anything can
you
happen.
start,
Hmm.
you get the trust. Basically, the spot is yours. Well, in your Real Madrid, he's gonna have to take it from someone, and I don't think he's gonna take it from anyone that team. Okay, so on to the next part of our stream. There's actually two players that we want to cover in quite a bit of depth. We spoke about one of them, or actually both of them, a little bit, but now we're going to the actuals. You want to cover Malik Chow, or we go with the other guy first? What would you like to do?
Do you want to just go with the other guys just so I can vent for a minute and then I'll be
Okay,
happy for the rest of
let's
the pod?
vent. Here he is. Here he is.
Here we go. Capitano, I know, and I'm constantly digging at him. So here's the thing. So what I was saying about the formation change and it just seeming to suit the players that can make a difference for us, right? I never thought I'd say this, but I actually quite like Salamakers in the role that he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit to him. He made the runs. He looks aggressive. He's willing to take on the play in front of him. You could say he's in his element.
And did you see that? And the point during the Spurs game where he came back and I can't remember who he tackled, but it was amazing to actually see him come back, and
Yeah, he cut in
it
front
was
of
a
who was it?
clutch tackle.
Yeah,
Was it Kane or Son? Maybe.
maybe it's Son. Yeah, he cut right in front of him at the right time to block that almost
Right.
tap in. Yeah,
Like I'm seeing that, and I'm going. If this was Calabria playing this game, he'd probably be still up near the midfield somewhere.
you'll be watching it going.
So this is it, and this is why it's a weird shift for me because now I have to go and actually compliment Salamakers, but he really has deserved it for me. I mean, I can't. He's done really well, like defensively and offensively. But for me though, if Calabria was playing this game against Spurs, our right hand side on the defense would be, even if let's say it's a three man and Calabria is taking up the spot of the right midfielder, right?
Yeah,
You're not getting as much in the attacking phase, but I mean, if you're going to get caught out, it's going to be be on that right hand side of the fence because they're just going to be lumping balls over, longing balls over, expecting Calabria, won't be able to track back because very often he doesn't, not fast enough. So, I mean, yeah, like, and keep in mind this says a lot as well. Like we went into a UCL game, a knockout game. Fair enough, yes, with a formation change, but our captain wasn't playing.
Okay, let me ask the tough question here. We've seen what happened to Romagnoli. Is this what's going to happen to Calabria?
I think it's already happened. The only difference is with Calabria is he's been given far more chances to actually to redeem himself, and the more he plays, the worse it looks. Uh, so yeah, I think we've seen the end now. It's time for him to get phased out. Give it to whoever the hell they want. To be honest, I'm still in two minds about giving the captaincy to Teo, just because he does tend to roll around on the floor a bit, and I think there's some things that
Yeah,
as
you're
a captain
right.
you shouldn't do. Right,
Actually, in my opinion,
but
the captain should go to you could say the lawyer on the pitch. If you got one of those guys who are able to argue his point and really get in the ref's face, make that guy the captain. He knows what he's talking
that's
about.
it. That's it, man. That's it. So yeah, for me, I think look, it's literally the armband. I think that's what's kept him in contention as long as this, and I think maybe it's kind of, and I understand there's a bit of an attachment to him because look, he has come up through the youth ranks, and and he did used to be a far more, I think, effective player. But I think the longer that we see him play, the more that we see that, look, going forward, I mean, he's okay. He does have moments where he contributes quite well. But then in the next phase of the game, when it comes to defending, he just gets beaten so often, and that's even it. It's actually enjoyable when he does get beaten because that's one of the rare times that he's actually in a place where he can actually defend. Because very often he's actually not. He's completely out of position. So
It's not he's out of position.
yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
think this formation is.
anyone can see it. Is that the
Hmm.
man is slow now? He wasn't that quick before his injury, but after his injury, I think even I can run faster than him. And
I
that's
think
saying a
he's
lot.
broken. Yeah, I know. And look, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's just something with Calabria just gives me the Abate vibes. That it's like good when he was younger, showed a lot of promise, peaked very early, did nothing, gone. You know, and that's why I think we should be looking to
Then became our
have
coach.
we
Come on,
should
give
be
him some
looking
credit.
maybe to. Yeah, but you see, the Primavera aren't doing great either.
Well, if you look at the context of the youth league, that's not bad, by the way. The
Mm,
Canadians we beat, that's
yeah,
impressive. Okay, so
yeah.
that's Glabra, and I'm glad you vented that one out. But I think as fans, we all feel the same. Is that we need everyone to challenge for places. We need everyone to play consistently and play well consistently. Calabria has not been the same, not this season, but for a while. Yeah, so he had a long injury last season, was missing a few months, came back pretty much. When he came back is what we're looking at recently. So no improvements from him.
Can someone just comment in this video and tell me if I'm being an ass to Calabria? Because if I am, that's fine, and I'll take it on the chin. I don't know. I don't know if I am or not.
Well,
I hope I'm not.
I think you agree with this, Shane. Is that we want to be wrong. Things like this, we want to be wrong, right? We want Calabria to prove us wrong. But one
Definitely,
man that has come
definitely.
out of the shadows and has really, really stepped it up at a time whereby when the team is not doing well, morale is low. We've had so many issues in defending. This has been a bright light, and with him on the field, for those who are listening to us on other mediums, this is Malik Chow. This the Botman that we were after, but we only got him for what 6 million as opposed to 30, 35. What are your thoughts, Shane?
That's it.
I mean, how refreshing has
That's it.
Malik Chow been when we've had, and someone was saying on the commentary when I watched the Spurs game, the team with the worst defensive record in the top half of the Italian league. What do you think? Is Chow the next
Um,
Greenwood?
I, it's been a funny thing with Xiao because I remember you saying this a couple of podcasts ago. Why didn't Pioli give him a go?
Yeah.
Right, like give him a give him more time on the field. And the thing is I completely agree, and I think most Milan fans did as well. To be honest, where it was a situation where it was like we really he didn't do anything so horrific when he was playing that it was like, well, no, this guy could start. I mean, he's but I think especially in the last couple of games, he's really kind of come into his own. He just seems to be doing everything properly. Like he's closing down the space, he's pressing very well, he's running out with the ball. I mean, you're seeing it's like I was looking at this right, and please, I am not comparing this player to Franco Baresi. Okay, but right. Like there was a point during the Spurs game where this kid who's only started literally probably, like consistently for this game that he was playing and the game before, and he runs out with the ball and he's just in control of it and he runs halfway off the pitch and then, tries creating an attacking move. And I'm kind of going, I don't think I've seen a Milan centre back do it that effectively since Baresi, really,
There
you
you
know?
go.
So, and he's coming out, and I mean, he had, the overpaid Premier League players in his pocket. I mean, this kid, it's people can complain, and rightfully so, when it comes to the Redbird policy, which is very tight when it comes to transfers. But when you see a player like this come on, I mean, this guy is exciting, you
Yeah,
know,
but a
like, and
performance
he's
like
come
that,
out
and
more.
not only this game, but a performance for against Spurs and against Torino, that in itself raises questions. If you know that this kid is capable of doing that, why didn't he start, or why wasn't he a big part of the team sooner? So because we needed him, yeah, and January was terrible for us. January, early February, it was hell, and traditionally that's where it's been hell. But why don't we have this fresh injection? So to me, if you ask me personally, it actually does ask more questions, and but I'm glad, yeah, better late than never, as people say. But I agree with you,
Do
yeah. Yeah,
you do you go? I know this would mean potentially having to sacrifice Ballon d'Or Krunic, but do you take Krunic off or not have Krunic start the next game and then have Franks play?
I would personally. Well, it's a risk because we need the 3 points, but this is the argument I was making at not only the beginning of this season, but in all other seasons as well. If you get any player to be in your team, don't tell me that you are afraid of them starting against lower ranked teams. Because if you are, then why is he even in the first team? He should be with the Primavera. That's why we have a Primavera. So, my direct answer is yes. We should see some of the other players. We cannot keep fielding the same lineup because, like what we've seen before, it destroys players. It destroys players. They get injured or they just don't perform. So if we have a hungry ranks who's ready to go and knows has been training hard with the team, why not? No, I would take that chance. Not only because of the case of Krunic, but as you know, just before the game, we get like these news alerts saying that one player of a sudden is not well or didn't pass a fitness test. So we need to give everyone opportunities. Ranks another one. Adley, can we consider Adley at all in the center in the midfield?
I don't think so. It's really bad. Yeah, it's. I mean, the only hope I see for Adley is that hopefully Diaz goes back to Real,
Yeah.
and then Pioli is kind of forced into using him more. And then hopefully by then he'll be ready for something along the lines of the cam roll. But
If we ever go back
it's
to 4
yeah,
4-2-3-1, because in a 3-4-3,
well that's true.
we don't really have
Yeah,
a cam.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So I don't know. It's not looking good. I mean, keep in mind. I mean, Adley was a relatively sizable investment for Milan, right? Because didn't he come for like 11 million or something? It
Yeah,
was 11.
Grincha money, if I can call it that.
Yeah, Yeah, but I mean that was a sizable investment, and then when you look at that, and you're kind of saying this kid isn't even playing. It's like, well, okay, I, knowing how we know. So CDK is, obviously missed the sitter against Spurs, right? But you can see that there's definitely something there, right? Just once the goal will come, it'll come. Diaz, though, I mean, you can. There's no point in playing Diaz against Manza because you just know he's not going to show up, right? So with that in mind, right, because he can't be Diaz can't be consistent for 2 games in a row because he's shown this over 3 years, right? So what you do is you just kind of say, okay, all right, I'm going to try Adley for half an hour. Or I'm going to try Adley for the first half. Let's see how it goes. If he plays well, okay. If he doesn't,
Sorry,
I mean,
Shane.
we're no longer in contention. Sorry.
Yeah, his connection just cut a little bit. Yeah, sorry. You can repeat it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but I think because I think I'd like to see Adley against Manza just for 45 minutes,
Yeah. I mean, we
just for
everyone's willing
45,
to give
just to
players
see.
time like CDK time. Why not give it to Adley? Yeah, time is not only means time on the bench, but also time on the pitch. Adley needs to feature more. If he's not the sort of caliber that we need, why did we sign him? And if you think that we going to be able to sign so many players and have a try of everyone, see which one fits into which what was the saying, the peg, which peg fits or something.
Oh, round peg, square
Yeah,
hole thing.
round
Yeah,
bed
yeah.
square holes.
Mm.
We don't have that luxury because we're not the Premier League. But for that, yeah, just a big shout out to Fabio who's actually joined us in the chat. Hello, Fabio.
Ah, thanks, Fab. We actually, we remember to actually monitor the live chat this time because we forgot last time.
Yeah, but
Oh man.
you're right. Monza, why not Adley? Why not Vranks? Chow doing well, keep him in. Tomori, no rush. If you got players do, doing well, keep playing them. Yeah, no need to rush other players back and absolutely destroy the progress. But here's one player that maybe
Yeah, it's.
we might need to see a little bit more. The
Hmm.
original, Divock Origi. Would you give him a chance?
I would. I would. I think as I think he hasn't. He seems to be kind of slowly getting it together and showing positive signs of really becoming a great player. No, sorry, not a great player, but like a player that we can depend on for a goal, right? Every now and then when we need it. So that's important. So I mean, yeah, like I really, I'd like to see Origi maybe get a bit more time off Giroud once Giroud stops doing that really annoying thing of actually saving us in games. Because hopefully he won't need to, and we'll have a comfortable 2 or 3 nil versus Manza, and then the likes of Origi, maybe Adley can come on. Oh yeah, we
But
got a
don't you
pro
agree with
crush
Origi?
on Hosni Fab.
Yeah. But don't you agree with Origi? The goals that he scored, if my memory serves me correct, he
Mm,
scored two goals, but both goals were quality. You can't take that away from the player.
mm,
So with more game time,
that's
but
it.
we have a yardstick here, so we know the sort of player that we would like to have on the field, which is a Giroud type player. What do you think?
That's it.
And we know there's definitely a gap between with Origi and Giroud. But do you think that gap can actually be bridged this season, or maybe we need to give Origi another season before we really decide?
I think I'd be comfortable giving him another season. So the reason being is that he's coming to Italy, right? It's very tactical. He wouldn't have experienced anything like that before. But we can see, like you said, for like the quality of the 2 goals that he scored, right? I mean, like I seen comments getting thrown around Twitter. I think the goal he scored in the Sassuolo game. It was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, it doesn't matter because we lost, and you're kind of going, it kind of does. So,
but
you
keep in
can't
mind when
really
we lose.
choose to score a great goal.
Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
to cut you. Keep in mind that when we lose games like that, it's not because we got smashed for no reason. Yeah. So defensively, we've had a problem. That's why I believe we lost the games. Had we kept a better defensive performance,
mm.
it would have been goals like Origi that would have got us 3 points. And this would have applied some other games as well where we tried to unlock the defense. So we need those sort of players. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
Hmm. No, no, and you're right, and I do think he does add a lot of experience. He adds depth, and I think he does add quality. Right, I think it was a good shrewd buy. I don't see him lining up for 34 or 38 league games a season. Sorry, and then being clutch. I just don't think he's that sort of player. But I mean, game, I do think there is a potential there that he can score goals for you. I think it was a smart buy. I think he should remain. Yeah, but it's this is a problem I have with Pioli though, especially when it comes to now we see Chow is slowly he's coming good, right? But the thing is he was never horrifically bad enough to warrant being stuck on the bench. And we're only seeing Pioli bring him on now because it's essentially a time of crisis and he's had to change everything. So what does that say about the likes of Franks or the likes of Adley?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, do they have to wait for the next crisis before they can hopefully be bought on?
Hopefully, because to be in a crisis means that
it's
we've
just
lost a
it's one
number
of
of
those
games.
things, man. Well, the thing is, if yeah, let's just say, if we go through another period like this where we come good for a couple of games, and next thing we start sliding off again, the axe will fall pretty quickly because I mean I think questions could rightfully be asked of Pioli. Then it's like, well, you've experienced this once before. Did you not see the warning signs?
Yeah, you're right. And his job on
So,
the line, no doubt about it. Regardless of
mm,
what people say, his job is on the line. All managers are. You lose this number of games in that short
mm,
period of time.
that's it.
Not only the fans, yeah, the
That's it.
management has to be evaluating this.
That's it.
All
That's it.
right. Well, yeah, that's pretty much been our recap, guys. And yeah, two games, and we look forward to Monza and of course a great performance. I don't know if you remember, Shane, when's the second leg for the Spurs game, but yeah, we're in a good position, and quarterfinals is there. Yeah, so it's
8th of
our game to
March.
lose. Yeah, it was our game to lose. Spurs, I think they're going through a bit of a rough patch. So once we once we put on a good performance, it doesn't need to be actually a good performance. We should be able to take the win and move on to the quarterfinals. So, but
But keep in
I,
mind, right,
yeah,
because we're playing like defensively tight, right, which is good because it's defense that'll win you the league title, right? But we have so we have Monza, Atalanta, and we have Fiorentina before the next game, the return Spurs game.
yeah.
So I mean, if they can put together a good string of results, especially against that Atalanta, that's very good. You know,
All we need to do is to find the right
so
place to unlock them because any team in the league, yeah, be it Juve, Inter, we've beat them very recently. Even Atlanta, we beat them.
mm,
Remember that coast to coast goal by Theo? That was about this time last year.
mm,
So if we're able to
that's
find
it.
that sense of confidence, that playing style, and have those tactics to really take advantage of it,
The,
why not?
the goal was so good they named it after Gio and Fabio's podcast.
Exactly. Big shout out to Fabio and thanks to Fabio for tuning in.
Big shout out, thanks, Fab. Appreciate it, man. But yeah, no, honestly, yeah, it's exciting times. Yeah, let's see how we do. And I hope, like, even if to be honest, right, my expectation of this Champions League, right, was let's just get through to the knockouts, right? Now the expectation still is okay. We're in the knockouts. Anything can happen, right? But you know, we're playing a team that are probably just as broken as we are, except they don't have the excuse of not being able to get players because they're in the Premier League. So hopefully, yeah, if we got through to that and got through to the quarterfinals, I've seen a good string of results can do a lot. And what we're talking about is it's a young squad. They're building experience to go and become champions. So it's exciting times. I just hope we hold it together. I think Pioli, for all my moaning at him over the last couple of pods, he's done something very positive with this formation change, and it's kind of like he's using the players that he knows he has now for the most part, right? In a formation that works, as opposed to before where it was like he had a formation that he knows works, and he'll just use whatever player he needs to make that formation work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but trying to
So
force those
this is
changes,
good.
and I mean, players can sense when when they're being thrown in this situation where they can sense the desperation. So that's usually where we see those nervous performances. But now that we got this new setup and everyone seems to look more comfortable, let's go with it. And yeah, no one's saying no to 3 points, and we should be. There's no excuse for us not to collect 3 points in 3 games. There's 3 points per game. Sorry, I hope I don't jinx it there. 3 draws in a row will probably kill our our European aspirations. But no excuses, and yeah, until the last game of the season, purely you got to do something. Your job's on the line, and based on some fans and what they think of from the previous games, he should be out. So, yeah, he's playing for his paycheck. But with that, thanks so much, Shane, and yeah, it's great to have you on. And from my side all the way here, uh, it's good also to be amongst Milan friends, Milan family, and thanks to Fabio also for tuning in. So,
Shout
any
out,
last
Fab.
bit thing before we tie this off?
Yeah, just thanks a million as well. So Husney was very kind when he was off seeing the trophy and making friends with Salad and
And CDK.
CDK. And CDK. He's very kind enough to actually get me the Milan Trophy T-shirt. So I really appreciate that. That was
Most
great, and
welcome.
I actually got through Kenyan Customs. So appreciate it, man. Now I have to get you something back. So it'll be good.
No,
It'll be good. It'll be really good.
no problem.
Life size
And
crew niche doll coming your way, my friend.
oh, please, no, I won't send you my address then. But thanks to all for tuning in, and for those who want to follow us, yeah, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcast, Spotify. We find us on Milanistas 360, and Shane's definitely keeping an eye on the Twitter. So if there's anything you want us to cover in the next stream or any questions that you'd like to ask us, please do not hesitate, and yeah, we'll definitely put it on air. Okay, so thank you all and tuning in. And until next week, guys. Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
Italia!